And I'll tell you that the Nigeria Labour Congress has raised concerns over the recent hike in petrol prices, saying it has rendered the yet-to-be-implemented 70,000 naira minimum wage ineffective. Speaking at a workshop in Lagos, NLC President Joe Ajaero criticized the government's handling of the fuel subsidy removal, accusing President Bola Tinubu of betraying Labour's trust. Ajaero said government had promised not to increase fuel prices, but the opposite occurred, deepening the hardship for Nigerians. He added that even a proposed wage increase to 250,000 naira would not ease the burden caused by rising fuel costs. Ajaero urged the government to address these challenges as workers continue to struggle with poverty and frustration. To discuss this, we're joined by a public affairs analyst, Towo Oseriwoja, who is joining us from the United Kingdom. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
You're welcome, Leko.
Now, how will the recent fuel price hike impact the overall Nigerian economy from the way you see it, particularly in terms of inflation now, consumer spending, and let's say business operations?
Well, definitely it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect, everything that has to do with the economy, that has to do with the human life, that has to do with corporate existence in Nigeria. Because I'll tell you for free that the price of petrol determines the air we breathe in Nigeria, because everything circle around the price of petroleum. A good example is that you can't compare it to United Kingdom or Canada or America, whereby some people can live in that country for 25 years without them knowing the cost of petrol, of fuel in that country. But in Nigeria, we have our individual. Everybody's like a government on its own. You create electricity by yourself, and by creating the electricity, you have to fuel your generator. So many things you have to do with the fuel. From moving goods from one place to another you must consider the price of fuel, because we don't have any alternative means of transportation apart from the road and the air. So definitely it's going to affect so many things. And Nigeria or the Labour Congress saw this coming, and they will be inimical to the truth to Nigeria to tell Nigerians that this thing is like a surprise to them. It's never a surprise. And this, I still want to tell Nigerians that this is not a policy. They are getting it wrong. This is a law, implementation of the law, which with due respect, stakeholders who partake in implementing that, in bringing that law into being, did not do proper research.
Now, we understand that 70,000 naira, the approved minimum wage, has not been fully implemented by different states. Even the 250,000 naira that was earlier proposed by the NLC was rejected. And the NLC president has criticized the president for how he handled most especially the removal of the fuel subsidy and other policies that has skyrocketed the price of stuff in the market. How will you describe the sincerity of government when it comes to policies, the implementation, and the cushioning effects that he had tried to bring into place?
Okay, first of all, like I stated earlier, this issue of subsidy removal is not an issue of policy. That is where the Labour Congress is getting it wrong, and that is where many Nigerian public affairs analysts, economists are getting it wrong. This is an issue of law. That is one. Then if you look at it, all stakeholders were taken on board in making this law. I will tell you for free that when public hearing was ongoing, I raised the concern when I was having a radio program, and I told Nigerians, particularly the NBA, which is the constituency I'm from, the Nigeria Bar Association, who are partakers. I think they attended the public hearing and all those stuff. What everybody was just concerned when the Petroleum Industrial Act 2021 was to be passed into law was issue of the definition of oil producing community, the increase of derivation and every other stuff. But without them knowing that the silent aspect of it that will impact on our economy has been taken away, without making provisions or alternative pending the implementation of that law. So what Tinubu did was to go by the law of the Petroleum Industrial Act. So definitely this is the repercussion. So there's no way NLC will come out and start saying that is a policy, is a law. And I'll tell you for free, with the way government is going about it, even though they are implementing the law, what they did was that to restrict the numbers of people that the money for subsidy fraud is going to just restrict it. Then on the issue of the minimum wage, I'm surprised that the Labour Congress chairman is calling on the president. It's an issue of law. That is something Nigeria need to understand. It's an issue of law. And I was shocked. I was carried aback a few days ago when a governor from one of the states is saying that he's giving condition. No. These issues, if they are not implemented, can raise, if we have a strong House of Assembly or a strong National Assembly, if they are not implemented, it's a ground for impeachment. So it's not issue of how it is handled. It's issue of the law must be implemented. Just as the government has implemented the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 in full latter, the National Minimum Wage Amendment 2024 should be implemented.
But most of these governors have said they do not have the financial capability to pay that particular amount, 70,000 naira, for workers who are deserving of it. So how do you think the government can deal with this issue? Because as you've established, it's a law. But then what part of the law would guarantee that there are cushioning effects that speaks directly to the plight, to ameliorate the plight?
Let me tell you one thing. Let me come in this area. You see, the Nigerian Labour Congress, they constitute 5% of the total, either 5 or 8% of the total labor force in Nigeria. They are crying far and wide because, like I tell you, the Nigerian Labour Congress are not victims. They are conspirators of what is happening in Nigeria. Now, let me tell you, the governors who are saying that are seeing payment of salary as an achievement, rather than a right that is earned to the workers. Then two, on the part of Nigerian Labour Congress, they are more of unproductive, I will use this word, because if you look at it now, employment into the public service in Nigeria is based on political patronage or political settlement and all those stuff.
But that's not the fault of the NLC, because they are not the ones who directly employ, it's the government.
Yeah, no, okay, let me give you a good example. Let the federal government say they are going to sack all employees of refineries. The refineries are in comatose, they are unproductive. But we have millions of people, we have people who earn salary on a monthly basis. What will NLC do? Let's look at it that way. If they said, okay, let's look at unproductive, even though when the government will say they want to implement a reform, they want to cut down budget and all those stuff. But you're not surprised that they will be bringing more parastatals, more agencies and all those stuff. So, but let me look at it from this perspective. The governors should look at it. Well, this is a law. And let's look at all the parastatals and ministry we've created, all the PAs and co we've created. Where are those productivity? Or let's go back to the way other countries are operating, basically the first world countries where they pay per hour. So we'll now see if the Labour Congress or the civil service are productive. And if they are productive, let the government cut them to size, not in every given, okay, are you shocked that every given administration has one or two ghost workers they screen at every given area? So it's an issue of, let's look at how productive are these parastatals and the numbers of people that can work in that parastatals and make payment as to what they've earned, not as to privileges that you've paid as achievement. The governors. So
if we cut the work size, if we cut the size of those who actually work in government, whether ministries, departments, and agencies, what about the cost of governance that also needs to be pruned down? Just about 30 seconds so that we can.
Okay, the cost of governance. That is why if you look at it, I told you categorically that we are not honest to ourselves, because if you look at the numbers of PAs, the numbers of ministries and all those stuff, they are unnecessary and they are uncalled for. But be that as it may, when such political offices are created, they are also compromising civil servants that benefit from that policy. So if we all stood our ground to say, okay, well, let this be done and let the proper thing be done, I think we'll have issues will be resolved. I see no reason where we have ministries without productivity and all those stuff.
Okay,
and we still have the probability.
Mr. Towo Oserowaja, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.